So Stacey, what is the earliest memory that you have of watching wrestling?
My earliest memory would be SummerSlam 88 and watching Bret Hart get beaten up pretty badly by Demolition and seeing him. I know he tried to fight back and I don't know, then he got smashed over the head with a megaphone and they still lost, and I don't know, I just fell in love with Bret Hart right then, I think, and then wrestling as well at the same time.
So after that, what led you to pursue becoming a professional wrestler yourself?
Well, after watching that match, I just watched everything. I just remember like Friday nights, and it would be raining in winter, and it would be on TV and with my brothers and stuff, and I just kept watching it and kept watching it. It wasn't until I had nothing to do. I quit school pretty early because I'm a troublemaker. And I went to do this work training course, and they had to go and do some work experience type of stuff. And so I looked in the yellow pages or white pages. I thought, oh, maybe I could do something involved with wrestling, even if it meant working at a video store that sold wrestling DVDs, because then I wouldn't have to spend so much money on them myself. And then I found Mania Women's Sport Fighting Gym through John Broshi in the white pages, and it said wrestling and self-defense and judo and jiu-jitsu and other stuff like that, and I called him up. I went to his gym, there was a wrestling ring, and that was just it. Started after that.
Do you have any specific memories from your first training session? What was it like? Anything that they got you to do? And has that translated anything that you've kept going today?
To be honest, this might become a regular thing throughout this story. I really can't remember. There are a lot of things that I just either choose to forget or just don't remember. I just wasn't very confident anyway, so going in there was just not a people person, never have, never will be, don't like people, don't like myself, no. It was just really nerve-wracking. I don't remember much apart from the fact that I got taught some things that I saw on TV or saw in the DVDs, and that was the thing that kept me going. I think was just the love I had for professional wrestling by then. I'd already watched it a long time.
So what year did you start training with, was it Mania when it first started?
See, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking 1998 maybe, I think. I don't know, 99, 98. Something like that. I can't remember. I try not to remember because then it reminds me of how old I am. And it's a young sport. You always have these young girls and guys coming up your rear end trying to take your spot, and I prefer not to even think about it actually. But a long time ago.
So when you first started, was it just you training, or were there other people there? And who were the initial people who came on as well to learn pro wrestling at Mania?
So I think Tabitha, who wrestles now, she didn't wrestle the whole time since we first started. I'm pretty sure she was there. I don't think she came on after me. I see it again, I can't even remember. Pretty sure she was already there, but we didn't meet until I'd started training for a little while, maybe, I don't know. And then everyone was doing the sport fighting, that was it. And there was one guy there, Pete, one of the trainers, where he did more of the stunt roles and stunt stuff, and so I kind of stuck with him rather than John, who did more of the self-defense and stuff that I wasn't really interested in. But they had a ring there, so I kind of just self-taught a bit. And I'm pretty sure when me and Tabitha met, we would just kind of do things that we saw on TV just ourselves, just kind of practice it ourselves. We were self-taught for quite a few years, actually.
So do you remember how you got your debut, how the match came about, how much notice you were given till you had your debut, and what was your debut match?
I can't even remember. I really can't remember. If we talked to Tabitha, she would probably know, but I can't remember. I don't know if it was at the Big Day Out 2000, or if it was before that at a special needs show that John did. It was one of those two. He did it at I can't, like maybe the ASB Showgrounds, or it was Big Day Out, or something really big, that's for sure. That's what I do remember it not being, you know, like in front of 50 people or something. It was quite a big thing. That's probably I didn't write things down, and because of my bad memory, I should probably shut off, so I actually don't even know. So bad.
So there was quite an infamous split that happened within Mania when more people started training to become pro wrestlers. There was this big split that happened. Could you explain a little bit about what happened, how it came about, and what ended up being the result of that split, which obviously was turned into IPW eventually?
Yeah, right. Well, not long after I had a few matches and stuff, some guys started training. I think maybe Johnny King back then, The Machine. I think they were definitely the first to come along, maybe Daddy Cool as well. And I do remember The Machine or Chuck telling me a while later that his first memory of me was me saying he was fucking shit or something like that, or just really, like, it wasn't good. My first impression of meeting those guys, or their first impression of me, was probably this girl is a fucking crazy, horrible person. I think I was a horrible person. So when the split, John ran shows as Mania Pro Wrestling for a while, like maybe a couple, and he had his normal gym anyway. It just became too much for him, and this girl, gosh, she was the worst wrestler ever, and I'm not sorry for saying that, she really was. If there was the worst female wrestling match in this whole country ever, it would be her versus some other girl. The other girl was okay, but it was just disastrous. Anyway, number one, I think if you can't wrestle, you kind of should just not, you know, or if you haven't given wrestling a go, you shouldn't be running a company in the first place. But anyway, John handed the reins over to her and stuff, and I think she could see that my confidence was quite low, and that my friendship with the boys wasn't the best, and I don't think she used me as a buffer to, you know, she befriended me and she friended me and used what I told her about the guys to go back to them and, you know, oh, Stacey said this, Stacey said that, and then she would come to me and say, oh, the guys think that you're this and the guys think that you're that, and she kind of buffered us off against each other, which then put her in the position to change the locks on the gym one night. The biggest mistake she made, which probably was the best thing for New Zealand wrestling anyway, was she told me, thinking that, you know, I wouldn't tell any of the guys because we just didn't have a good relationship, or she thought we didn't. She said, I've changed the locks on the gym and I'm going to kick Chuck and Nick out, just Daddy Cool and The Machine, two of the guys that were the mainstays really, and the first main guys to come along that everyone got along with, and they were leaders, and I think she knew that, and I think she felt threatened by the fact that everyone liked these guys and everyone would listen to these guys, and she really wasn't the boss, and they kind of were. And so she said, and I'm making everyone sign contracts, and I'm kicking these two guys out, and yeah, so don't tell anyone. And I was like, okay, like, right. Then my friend Donna, who I probably owe a lot to, I was over at her house, and I told her what had happened, and she knew the history and the relationships between me and the boys and stuff, and she said, oh, well, Chuck's online. This was on Messenger or something. She's like, why don't you tell him what she's got planned? And I said, oh, you know, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea. These guys don't really like me. That might have been all in my head, or it might have been the truth. I don't know. And she's like, you know, you've got nothing to lose. You'll prove to them that you are, you know, on their side, which I was all along. I wasn't. I was lost. I think I'm still lost. And so I messaged Chuck on Messenger and said, hey, I've got something to tell you. Shari, I think her name is Shari, yeah, it was. Shari is already changed the locks on the gym, because he had a key and so did Nick, or maybe he did, I don't know, so one of them had a key. And she's making all the rest of us sign contracts, and she's kicking you guys out. What are we going to do? You know, I don't think that's a good idea. yada yada yada, because he was a leader, he was one of the best wrestlers on the team, and he could coach and teach people even if he hadn't been trained specifically by anyone at that stage. He just could pick things up, and he was actually a big idol of mine, even though I didn't act like it. And he arranged a meeting at his house. He got all the boys there because everyone liked him. And he said, right, Stacey's got something to tell you guys. And I proceeded to tell, I think there was probably about 20 of us there, at least 20, I'm sure of it, 15 if not 20, of us at Chuck's house. And I was like, a bit put on the spot there, but it was my thing. So I said, well, you know, Shari's changed the locks, kicking these guys out, and wants the rest of us to sign contracts. I remember one of the first people to speak up was Roger Ventura, who gets a bad rap, but with that, I think he was quite integral in the, you know, in the playing a part of this split as well, where he said, well, if Chuck's going, you know, if Chuck's been kicked out, I'm not staying. And I was like, well, I'm not staying. And all of a sudden everyone was like, well, I'm not staying, well, I'm not staying, well, I'm not staying. And if I remember correctly, I was like, I don't know, may have said, what are we all going to do? Should we walk out? Or maybe someone else did. I don't know, I can't even remember. So we decided that we were all going to, you know, leave, pretty much. So we turned up to training. She had these gangsters or these heavies or bodyguards, I don't know, but they were pretty, you know, big, intimidating guys. And I think I did go right up to her and be like, you know, what are you doing bringing these, like, bodyguard people in here, these gangsters, like, what game are you playing, and whatever. And things got a little bit heated. I remember Jordan Invincible and Alexander the Great were two guys that were like, come on, bring it on, kind of thing. It never got to that stage, thank goodness. I do remember Ryan, who missed the meeting but came to the gym late while we were all, you know, walking out. She was like, you know, you either sign contracts or, you know, that's it. And we were like, well, we're going, we'll see you later. And Ryan comes in strumming his guitar. Hey, wait, what's happening? What are you guys doing? Let's sort this out. And we were all like, no, we just, I think his friends just dragged him by the ear going, no, mate, we'll explain later. We went over to the gas station across the road, the Caltex, which is synonymous with the formation of IPW, basically. I think it's Caltex. No, it might be a BP now, whatever. And that was the start of Impact Pro Wrestling, pretty much.
So with the start of of IPW and Impact Pro Wrestling, what was your guys' plan and goals going into it? Was it just to start a wrestling company, or was it to be what it's turned into now, which is seemingly the biggest and the best, and certainly the oldest pro wrestling company in New Zealand?
Well, at that stage, we didn't even have anywhere to train, and we definitely didn't have a ring because we used John's rings. I'm pretty sure their first, I say there because while I was instrumental in starting it, I was around, but I was only training with men, and it really was not, it's just my confidence did not allow me to go in there and feel comfortable and confident training. So I would go and I would watch training sessions, and I'm pretty sure people must have thought I was a bit of a creeper, but it was all just that, oh my god, here I now have to, I asked for this or I helped this, and now I have to train with guys, and it just totally freaked me out. And I met a partner then who, I don't know, didn't really like wrestling, Muslim guy and stuff. He's a bit overbearing. I kind of disappeared a little bit, but not. I was there, but kind of in and out, didn't really contribute too much. And everyone put money in to try and get a ring. I think maybe Chuck and Alfred Valentine, maybe Double D, Davey Deluxio, were probably one of the main, maybe Al, I don't know, maybe Nick. I don't know, everyone just started putting in money to try and get the ring. Chuck had a girlfriend at that time who knew an engineer or something like that, who then designed the ring, and then the ring got made. And yeah, I think that was just the focus at the start, was to try and get a ring first. And the training facility was at Mangere Pools or something like that, but in the rec centre where Daddy Cool worked, it's just on mats and stuff like that. So I think the main focus at the start was just get enough money to get a ring, and you know, eventually the ring came. And then I think pretty sure the first training facility was Chuck, or the machine moved into a warehouse in Bond Street. It's like 3-story, and the training facility was down the bottom, and he lived up the top and stuff. And that's why without that guy, who maybe you'll hear later, I don't think he got a very good deal once he decided to leave. I think he was actually treated pretty bad. Without him, we wouldn't be here. Like, there would, even though I started that meeting or arranged that meeting, without the machine, there would be no wrestling in this country. And I'm positive of that. Like, without him, there's nothing.
So when you were ready to make sort of what was the IPW debut show, were you a part of that show wrestling wise, or just behind the scenes, or explain how that first show came around?
I don't know. I don't know the first show. I don't know the name of it. I don't remember it. I don't even know if I'm pretty sure I would have been, I'm sure I was there. I'm sure we did. See, I can't remember. I really can't remember. I have no idea.
Yeah, so about the name Just Plain Evil, or JPE, how did you come up with that? Do you remember, was that a name you used in Mania? Was it a name that started in IPW? Was it always your wrestling name from when you were younger? Or how did that name come about?
I never, when I watched wrestling, I never wanted to be a wrestler. That was never my goal. I just liked wrestling. It wasn't until I got older and I was a bit lost, and I just didn't know who I was and what the hell I was going to do with my life, or just, I don't know, it's just a complete mess. But when I started that, like, as soon as I started wrestling, I came up with that name, and it was, you know, they say that either you create a character that is completely different or completely the opposite of who you are, or one that's very similar, and I think back then it was just so easy to play such a nasty, mean, I don't know, insecure, unconfident monster, pretty much, because that's how I felt that I was. I don't know.
But when you were wrestling on shows for IPW in the early days, what were some of the challenges that you faced? Was it always wrestling the guys? There wasn't really a steady stream of women wrestlers at that time. So what were the challenges that you found as probably the first, or easily the first, and probably the only wrestler in New Zealand for a long time? What were the challenges that you faced?
I think because of my attitude and who I was back then, I think just being accepted was my biggest challenge. I'm just the most complex individual you ever meet in your life. I can't understand myself, so I don't expect anyone else to be able to understand me. I think that, to be honest, personally, I don't know if I cared about who I fought back then. I just wanted the people that I wrestled with to accept me for who I was, which has been my constant battle till today, really.
So there was a trip to Australia where a couple of
dreaded Australian trip.
a couple of the other IPW girls and yourself went over and wrestled over there. Can you explain how that trip came about and the story and the consequence of that trip to Australia?
Yeah, well, I can't remember, when was it, 2006? No, it would have been later than that then. No, 2010, 11, maybe? I don't know. That was probably one of the worst times personally in my life in terms of depression. Just basically depression. I've struggled with weight my whole life since I was 16, but before that I was a small person, and then I kind of just put on all this weight, and it has been the biggest, I believe, even though I'm in control of what, losing it or gaining it, it's been the biggest thing that's held me back in life ever. It's the biggest battle probably I've ever faced. And so going over there, I don't know, I was big. I can't even remember. Go back to can you tell me the question again? Because now I've gone off track.
So how did the trip come about to go to Australia?
Right.
Is the first part.
Right, okay. So I'm pretty sure it came about because of Evie. She is and was and is just that damn good that she caught the eye of Madison Eagles over at PWWA or PWA Australia, and then she reached out to her, and then all of us other girls kind of got in through Evie. That's what I think. She was clearly the better wrestler out of all of us, definitely. I can admit that now. Maybe at the time it's not that I saw myself better than her. It's just that for the different characters and personas that we were, I believe that she was my, even if she doesn't know this, she was my buffer. Like anything that Evie could do, I wanted to do, because she was she was the best. I'd been around longer, that it kind of motivated me to, if she can do that flip, well, I can do that, regardless of my size. If she can do the Ric Flair thingy over the ring ropes, well, then I can. If she can go out backwards over the ropes, well, then I can. And she kind of gave me a lot of confidence and stuff. So basically the booking came through her, I'd say. A lot of things between me and the girls had just happened before we went. I remember a particular family, the Shenton family. That's not even funny, but we were doing Manama Mo tapings for IPW at that stage, and I think the booking there got to the stage where, and before that, where maybe people just didn't buy the fact that these smaller girls, maybe just the way they won or something. I had this small fan base that just wasn't buying the fact that these girls who were a lot smaller and stuff could actually kind of beat me, I guess. Which I believe it wasn't my fault. I got a lot of stick because they thought that I was putting myself over on my fan page and stuff, where I was doing what I'd done for, I don't know, the whole time. I didn't think I specifically changed anything. So I was just getting a lot of heat for that. So me and the girls just weren't in the best place going over there in the first place. They all were on the same flight together, there and back, and I was alone. And that's what it felt like. A lot of it may have been in my head, I don't know. I really haven't had a chance to talk to any of the girls since then or before them, and really, explain or maybe apologise back then for things I did, or ask them questions about why, I don't know, not why they didn't like me, but I don't know, whatever. So anyway, I felt kind of alone. I wish I hadn't have gone. I probably shouldn't have gone. I wasn't in the best headspace anyway. I remember getting picked up by Madison Eagles and telling her, the first things I said was, because I'm a pretty open book and a pretty open person, maybe too open sometimes, I remember telling her that I'm really suffering from depression and anxiety right now, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to cope, and I just wanted her as the booker and the person who arranged it to just maybe kind of know and see that I just wasn't in the best headspace or something. I remember, and not because I was rude, I just remember not shaking people's hands, and that was probably the death of me. I think I didn't go and introduce myself, not because I was rude, and not because I didn't want these people to like me, or not because I didn't like them, or not, just for the simple fact that I felt really shy. And it's hard to explain to people that I didn't shake your hand, because I just really wanted to sit in a corner and kind of just go home. I don't know, it's hard. It's really hard to explain. That was one incident I remember. Apparently I just remember hearing things when I got back, that I had a few drinks and said some things to Jessie McKay. No one would specify specific things that I did wrong over there, apart from the not shaking hands, which, I totally understand, and I should have shaken hands, or better off, I shouldn't have gone. Now I have a lot more confidence, and if I went on the same kind of trip, or if I was given a chance, or people would forgive what I did back then I believe that people would see a different side of me. But I believe that ruined my chances of being booked in Australia again or going anywhere beyond. I just feel like that was actually probably the death of my wrestling career, apart from being in New Zealand. A lot of it was definitely, if not all of it, was my fault. I do suffer from Asperger's, so a lot of things I said or a lot of things I do say, I don't realise offend people at all, and it's not. I remember one person over there, actually there were a couple like Peyton Royce in NXT right now, and Kellyanne, who wrestles in Australia and for Shimmer and Shine at the moment. I remember them being quite friendly and quite nice to me, and they were a couple of the ones that kind of made me feel secure, or especially Kellyanne. I remember the first training at PWE that we took, I just kind of broke down. This is going off in a tangent all over the place, but I hate failing, and that's why I don't like training with other people, because then it shows that I can't do stuff. And this is a one thing in my life that I have been good at, and I do realise that you have to train to get better and you have to fail to succeed. I realise that now, but back then I didn't, and I just didn't like training in front of everyone. I didn't like failing. I broke down. She was one of the only ones to kind of understand or give me a hug or just be like, you know, it's okay. And Peyton Royce was the same. She was nice. I don't know.
So the actual match in Australia, do you remember what the match was? Who was involved in the match? Did you get any feedback after the match, or was it all kind of just closed-mouthed and you found out about everything when you got back to New Zealand?
I didn't really. I found out everything when I came back. I do know that the match over there was me and Harley Wonderland versus Kellyanne and Eliza Sway, and I think the match was good. There was a review of it from Ring Bells Online or something afterwards, where the match per se, didn't get any bad review or anything. They thought it was, for me and Harley Wonderland were a weird team. The match was the match was good. I remember the night before PWA, being on the PWA card and being on the same team as Madison Eagles, which is very intimidating, to be honest, because she's like the best wrestler in the world, and she's probably someone you do not want to offend, which I did probably multiple times, unfortunately. And I remember, this is my character. I remember coming out and saying Sydney sucks, you know what I mean, because that's where we were, and her saying, but I'm from Sydney, and I was just like, oh my god, like, what do I do? My own teammate is telling me what I said was wrong, and she's so influential. I think that kind of put me off a little bit as well, even though maybe she was just in character, I don't know. It just was, oh my god, I just wanted to go home even more then, to be honest. But I was like, no, but not you. You're good. You don't suck. I enjoyed that match. I was with, wrestled against two people that now are in WWE. Come on, can't really get any better than that.
So what was the result of the Australian trip when you got back to New Zealand? You mentioned there were some people saying that there were some things that you had done wrong, but they wouldn't really specify what it was. So what was the end result when you returned to New Zealand?
Right, well, when I got back, the people who were in charge of IPW then, which were, Danny Jacobs, Nathan, and Burns or something, anyway, whatever. I just like the people that were in management positions then, I do understand that maybe they were good business people, but I guess it riled me that, who are you? Like, who are you? Where did you come from? What's your name? Why the hell are you firing me? They fired me, pretty much. They basically said, I think they got a message from PWA about, apparently they said a whole list of things that I did wrong. And when I was like, well, what did I do wrong? Like, telling me this and not specifying what I did wrong is not going to help me in the future if I, did carry on wrestling. It's just not going to help me, or I can't go back and apologise to people for what I've done wrong if I don't know what I've done wrong. I think they may have mentioned, saying stuff about Jessie McKay, which again I can't remember. I think they mentioned that I said something to Kelly Skater which offended her, which I was and still am Facebook friends with her, and I did message her after that and ask her, hey, they said this, and honestly, what did I say? I say things that I don't realise offend people, and she explained what I said. She just straight up said, this is what you said and this is how it offended me, and I apologised to her, and she accepted my apology, and it just felt that at least I got some closure there. The Jessie McKay thing, she's not, I knew she was great, and she let me into her house, and I really, if I could remember, it seems like a pitiful excuse, so I take ownership, obviously. But if it came from Jessie McKay, then it must have been the truth, and I wish that I could remember what I said, and just what an idiot, what a stupid idiot to even just, what a dick. I was warned by Johnny King not to, be careful what you say over there, and, don't offend anyone, and he was the only one who kind of pre-warned me going over there, because he knew what I was like, and he probably knew that I could, get myself barred for life, which I kind of did. The IPW said, they won't book you ever again, and, they're a international company, and because of what you did, yada, 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 we have to let you go and stuff like that. Which someone who helped start it and had been there for that many years, and I don't know, I guess that hit me kind of hard, I suppose.
So after you were effectively fired from IPW, what was the next step? Where were you at when you heard, hey, you've been fired, you've been let go? Obviously, I assume they weren't very nice about it. They just said, hey, look, you're not going to work for us again. You're not going to be here anymore. So then, what did you do? What was your first reaction, and then what was your sort of follow-up reaction to that?
Right, well, my first reaction was to get mad. I just, they made a valid point. They made a valid point when they said, we know you, we know how you behave, we know you don't mean it, and we accept you here. But when you go elsewhere and you go overseas, and they don't know who you are, and they don't understand why you act the way you do and why you say what you do, then it is a reflection on us, and that's why we have to let you go. I guess I didn't understand that till after I got mad. I think maybe if it had been done by people in the company that had been around longer, I might have taken it better. It was three guys that, I don't have a problem with any of them now, but it was three guys that just, I don't know, they just weren't, who are you? It's just hard to accept when it comes from three guys that did not build that company. I don't know, if it had been Johnny King or Alfred Valentine or Davey Deluxio or The Machine or Daddy Cool, even though those two weren't around then, if it had been from them, I might have taken it better. It was from, at that time, it was from, it was like three guys that, what the hell have you done for IPW, that, I don't know, it just kind of made me mad a little bit. I don't know, it took me a while to calm down. I can't even remember the year. I think I took note of it a while ago. When was it? 2011? I think? No. I'm trying to think when Maniacs United started, which was 2011. So maybe it was early 2011 that they let me go, and I didn't know what the hell I was going to do after that. There was no other place in Auckland to wrestle. There's nothing. There was, I think there's still WPW in Wellington, I'm pretty sure. I think KPW was still running shows then, not many, but they were running some. I think SCW down in Blenheim were still around then, I think. I'm pretty sure they were. Yeah, they were actually. So yeah, I don't know. I was just like, what the hell am I going to do?
So what was the deciding factor, or was there a deciding factor that made you just suddenly decide, hey, I'm going to start my own place? The name Maniacs United, why the name Maniacs United?
I guess because I wanted to wrestle. And there was, I wanted to wrestle. Number one, I wanted to wrestle. Number two, I wanted to create a place where people like me who, struggle with life in general all the time, struggle with being happy, I just don't know. In this interview, I didn't know if I wanted to delve really deep into who I am or just keep putting this facade. At times, I'm very confident. I'm confident in my ability as a professional wrestler. I'm confident in who I am. I'm confident in my beliefs and stuff, but maybe confident overall. Maybe I wasn't, maybe I'm not. I wanted a place where people that were different, people that have disabilities, people that struggle with mental illness, which is what I did do, just people that were different and won't be accepted by mainstream society could go and do professional wrestling and maybe given more chances than what I was, or maybe they could just be who they were and not be judged for it and stuff. So, I got a lot of stick about, one of the guys that got rid of me, this was from a private forum. IPW had a private forum then, and one of the guys that was still in the private forum, even though he was no longer their trainee, told me about this, because I named it Maniacs for the fact that I'm a loose cannon. You know what I mean? I'll admit it, and I wanted a place where other people who would just, suffered from mental illness, suffered from depression, suffered from Asperger's, autism, just were, low confidence, just anger issues, just were different. And, just, it maybe sounds like a bad name then when I think about it. But, that was where the Maniacs bit came in. And I remember, the guy being told that this guy made fun of the fact that it was called Maniacs, and, it was for people who are mentally ill, and that's just, that kind of stuff back then drive me into, well, I'm going to make this mentally ill company, rival yours, you know what I mean? You want to put me down, I'm going to come at you, which it took me years and years to, I think, finally be kind of, at least production-wise, if not talent-wise, because my guys are new, their guys have been around for years, to be on a similar level to them. Where was I talking to? Where was I? Right, and the United was just unite, like a bunch of crazy people united, pretty much. So he made fun of the fact that it was, maniacs, it was mental illness, and don't worry, they'll either disappear quickly or they'll, die a slow death, and that's what, a slow, painful death or something like that, which we're in our 6th year now, so you can stick that up your death ass, mate. Maybe that is one guy I still, hold a beef against, because he never wrestled, he never did anything, and he got rid of me, and then he proceeded to, privately, shame I found out, privately run me down and stuff like that.
So what were some of the challenges? Obviously you mentioned one about people mocking the name Maniacs United and saying about it being for mentally challenged and mentally ill people. So what were some of the other challenges that you faced in the early days of starting and running Maniacs United?
Right. I started as focusing on being an all-female place. So some of the challenges were, I started with Crystal Kane, and Angel was her name then, but she's Frankie Quinn now. The amount of messages, of the sudden interest that I got in people wanting to be friendly because I had these 2 young, attractive girls on my team, was astounding. The amount of and this is from people in the scene, the amount of guys that tried to get them to go to IPW, the amount of, she's hot, what's her name, or she's hot, what's her story, just having to deal with, just stupid things like that. A lot of things that I dealt with I may have brought on by myself, but I don't take the blame for that, because they went about it the wrong way. There was a lot of cyberbullying by a couple of wrestlers in particular, really nasty, absolutely beyond the call of being, it wasn't constructive criticism, it was nasty, absolute cyberbullying. He knows that I, think that it's cyberbullying, and he'd still make fun of the fact he was cyberbullying. whatever. That was putting like training videos up that I probably shouldn't have, matches maybe that just weren't ready to go online. Our matches and our promo photos got submitted to every social media page that you could imagine, like You Are Not Getting Booked, Trash Bag Wrestlers, which were pages that focus on, the negative side of pro wrestling or people that weren't up to standard. It was never mentioned that, my girls' debut match got put on this You Are Not Getting Booked page, and no one mentioned that these two girls, it was their first ever match in their whole life. Like, no one mentioned that. It was just, they suck, the trainer sucks, the school sucks, the whole thing sucks. I was never given any thought to the fact that these were two really young girls, like they were 18, I think, something like 17 and 18 maybe, and they were new, and no thought was given to that or how they'd feel about that, that stuff from guys that at that stage weren't the bee's knees themselves. I mean, they've improved now and stuff like that. I mean, one of them is really, really good. He was probably a less of a public, yeah, but, it's just, that kind of, that was about it. The cyberbullying, and then I had some, hot girls come along, or hot girls according to them, and it was just, let's try and get them for our company, and it was just a constant round of trying to keep my girls away from them. And one didn't work out, she left and she went to that company, you know what I mean, and you just got to take it on the chin, and it doesn't mean I stopped, I just carried on. It was painful. I know that they wanted me to just think what they were doing. They were trying to force me to either crack or, get rid of the company or something. But I think everybody underestimated the strength that I have, I think.
In those, especially those early days, but also it relates to now, were there any moments where you really thought, like, screw it, I'm giving this up, I can't do it anymore? And what was it that you had to remind yourself of, or where did you find the strength and the courage and the ability to carry on with doing what you were doing?
I think if they hadn't of been on my case the way that they were, I may have given up. They were my motivators, the place that fired me, the people that then bullied me from that place, who did not know me. Number one, they didn't know me from a bar of soap. When I left or got fired, I'd known these guys for about 6 months. Like, that's it. Like, you don't even know me, and it was just, I mean, I didn't know them either. It was just absolutely ridiculous. They were my motivators. That's why I'm still here today, because not that you'll watch this, but because they motivated me to keep going. That was at the start, so that I could just shove it in their face. That, you can't get rid of me, like, you want to. And the fact that I like wrestling. I wanted to wrestle. I liked coaching people. I mean, at the start, maybe I wasn't the best coach, I can admit that, but I'm better than some coaches I know. Like, I've known worse coaches, but I don't know. They were a big motivator, and the fact that I've got my own goals as well. Like, they weren't just the only motivator, but that's just, I was not going to let one company have the monopoly on professional wrestling in the whole of Auckland. Like, there should be choices. There should be, there should be other places where people can go, because not everyone is going to fit into that one box. I just found that you had to be, that you just had to fit in, or you just weren't really accepted, I guess.
So with the other companies in New Zealand, did you find those difficult to go and work for, or were they welcoming when you left IPW?
Oh no, they were great. Like, I honestly had no problems with anybody else. Like, well, I had to go and, eat humble pie to Rip Morgan because, when I was with IPW, there was an incident where, there's something about WWE tryouts, and the IPW guys put in their DVDs or their trial DVDs, and apparently they never got seen because the DVD got broken or something. It was, I don't know. I don't even really know the whole story. My tape wasn't in there, so what do I care, really, to be honest? But anyway, there's a big thing about the DVD player being broken, and I did, it's so stupid, but I thought I was doing the right thing, sticking up for my company. At a KPW show, I remember saying to Rip Morgan, like, who would do that? Rip Morgan's been in the WWE, I'm sure. Like, why the hell would you say that to someone like him? What? And, like, just done some real stupid things in wrestling. I was like, oh, yes, what about that broken DVD player, mate? And I remember, I think even Shane Whitehead, wasn't really impressed, or maybe, and Inferno back then was just like, he was just like, this girl is an idiot. So I thought I burnt that bridge until after IPW got rid of me. I'm pretty sure I sent him or saw him at a show and gave him a big apology or something. And we're great now. Like, so I mended bridges with Gary, Rip Morgan, and I always got along, I think. I always got along with Martin Sterling. That was the thing, like, I may not have gotten on with IPW, but this might sound rude, but I got along with the people that mattered, like the people that could take my talent to the other level, like people like Gary, who has those connections to WWE, and Martin Sterling, who's been in New Zealand wrestling and been around for so long, like the people that, even the guy SCW, who trained some of the young kids and stuff, I had a good rapport with him, so I felt like, no disrespect to anyone at IPW, but the people that mattered, or could get me, or maybe not me, then I'd given up, my talent on a wider scale, I had good relationships with them. So, but I'd grown up a lot since then, so that might have helped.
So you mentioned the KPW Women's Cup that you hold. Do you remember how that came about? Who told you that you'd be winning the KPW Women's Belt? And then also, could you explain a little bit about what made you to sort of rebrand that belt from being the KPW Women's Belt to being the New Zealand Women's title?
It was the first I didn't find out until after why the title was brought in. I just thought that there were a lot of female wrestlers between me and Scarlett, Crystal Kane, Angel, Queen Holly back then. Jessie was still around then, even though she was more of a valet. Misty, Amy St. Clair was there. There were a lot of girls that weren't in IPW that were around, that I thought, it was just brought because, there's a lot of girls and let's give them something to fight for, I guess, I don't know. So there's a big rumble at a KPW show. Nurse Payne won that. Scarlett won it off her. Then I think it went to Frankie Quinn after that. I can't remember who I won it off. Did I win it off Frankie or did I win it off Scarlett?
Scarlett.
No, then it must have gone back to Scarlett after that. I can't remember who. I don't know if it was Rob who told me. I can't remember if it was Rob or Gary, to be honest. There's my bad memory coming in. It was one of the bookers, one of the people that, oh God, that totally breaks kayfabe, doesn't it?
Doesn't matter.
I think I was told by Rob. I can't remember. Just either Gary or Rob, one of the others. Honestly, I don't even know. That I was winning it. I know that titles are a prop, and I know that titles don't mean anything, or they don't mean anything to other people. I must say that, because I keep arguing that point. I keep saying I know it's a prop and I know it doesn't mean anything, but that is to other people. I know it's a prop to other people. I know it doesn't mean anything to other people. To me, I don't take it seriously. I don't think, oh, I won it, so I'm the best female wrestler in this country. I took it as I'm winning it because I deserve it, not that not that it was my turn, or not that, oh, well, she's been wrestling so long, let's just give it to her. I thought that, I was a pretty good wrestler and I worked hard, and that's why it's just nice when someone appreciates the work that you do and then you have the opportunity to win a title, which is why my views may differ from other people's. It doesn't mean I take it so seriously and think, oh my God, like I'm the best and I'm the champ and you're not. It's just I take some pride in the fact that people think you're worthy of something like that. That's just me. I know a lot of people, it doesn't mean anything, and I know you know, in the whole scheme of things, it doesn't. But to my fans and the shows that I go to, you know, that I wrestle in front of, the people there, it means something to them though. So why wouldn't it mean something to me? The whole concept around that baffles me. Me personally, probably no one else, I have no idea, but I've always had my own obscure opinions, and unless someone can sit down and really explain why it absolutely means zero, then my opinions are always just going to be the same, and I don't give a fuck. I just don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm more than happy to, you know, pass it over, or, you know, lose to the next person coming up. I mean, this is going to sound so bad, but I don't want to lose it to someone that hasn't worked for it, because I believe in the 12 or 13 months that I've had it, that I've worked harder than ever. I didn't just take that title and then sit on my ass and do nothing. I trained more, I got better, I've pulled off some of the best matches of my goddamn life with that title in my hands, and so how can it mean nothing? Because look at what I've done while I've had it, and not in terms of what I've done with the title, but what I've done with myself, how much better I've got, the places I've gone up to Te Kaupere with that title. So there are, you know, people in small towns up in Dargaville that know that this exists, and then we're going to go to, you know, Mangakino, and there's going to be tiny people in that town that know that this title exists. This the whole concept of it means absolutely nothing. Doesn't wash with me. It doesn't mean that I think it means the whole world. It just the whole why? How can it mean nothing when I've done all these matches and I've worked hard and I've trained hard and I've just I just don't get. I personally don't get it. Yeah, that's all. The rebranding, God. You know, I'm going to be honest here. Shit, it always gets me into trouble, but after I thought it was quite convenient that just after I got fired from IPW, they bring in a women's championship. I thought that was very convenient timing, that, oh hey, she's gone, the Wicked Witch is gone, let's bring in a title now. I'm sure it wasn't, I mean, I don't know, but maybe it wasn't because, oh, she's gone, let's do that. It could have been because the three girls that were left there, you know, had been there for quite some time as well. So they deserved it, you know what I mean? Like, they deserve to have something to work for. But if people's opinions are it means nothing, then why'd you do it? I don't know. I think that's catch-22 situation for people that want to say titles mean nothing. Then why do you have one? Why do you want it? And why do you take pride when you win it? But yeah, so, you know, they call it the New Zealand Women's Championship, and to be honest, it wasn't me that started calling it that. It was Scarlett. When she held it, she made a point of, you know, saying this is the first title brought in to the country, and it's the real New Zealand Women's Championship. So, you know, we knew that IPW weren't going to book me on their shows to challenge for their title. And even if that happened, some obscure reason, yeah, right. There was no way in hell, and there is no way in hell that I would ever win it. So to me, that's not a New Zealand title where there's this, you know, this trophy, this KPW or New Zealand Women's Championship, can be defended and won by anybody, any of them in IPW, any of them in, oh god, WPW, there's only Misty there right now, and, you know, Hughes Academy even, you know what I mean, like, Frankie Quinn then went to Hughes Academy and she won it under their umbrella, so, you know, Scarlett defended it overseas, so she started it and I jumped on the bandwagon because she was correct. It was the first women's title brought into New Zealand, and then I carried on. You know, then she kind of went a little bit weird, and then it became to her, it wasn't the New Zealand Women's Championship, and after I won it, that was, of course, it really shoots on, I don't know if I should shoot on Ange like that, you know, because she'll probably watch it, I'd say, I reckon she would. I just think that maybe that goes, even though, just,
I can take that bit out.
Because even I know that Eva was like, that's a fan group, and what she did there was just, I just don't know what.
Oh, it was completely unprofessional, but then lots of things that people do in New Zealand are unprofessional, and so that's why you have to hold yourself to that higher
So I jumped on Scarlett's bandwagon, and I kept the bandwagon going, just, no matter if people want to jump off the bandwagon. I reckon I don't want to say that if IPW then decided that they would call theirs the IPW Women's Championship, that I'd go back to saying it's the KPW Women's Championship, because KPW doesn't exist anymore. Basically, they haven't had shows for years, and there is a man's KPW title that hasn't been contested since all year or something, but this title has been. So it's hard to say that it's a KPW title when the company itself is not active, but the owner of that is still actively involved in the booking of it and stuff like that. So I can't say that if they decided to do that it's hard. I don't know. I guess we'll just both call it what we want. I guess the hardest thing is there are pages now, New Zealand professional wrestling pages and stuff, that do class that is the title, and then when they, I don't really care, honestly, I don't, but when they bring out the lists that, where I'm number 1 and then someone else is number 2, like Scarlett, and then some weeks, I've been number 3 or not even on it or something, and the champion is always from that company. I just believe if it's a real New Zealand title and that it holds that prestige of being called that you need to make it open to any single person in New Zealand, and they need to be able to win it too. I just don't buy it, that's all. If they did that, then I wouldn't have an issue, but they probably don't care if I have an issue or not, and we'll just keep calling our bouts whatever we call our bouts, and it doesn't really matter. So, yeah.
So you mentioned there about going and having this year as being like the year for you, the year you've trained harder, you've worked more, you've had some of your best matches, and you have been posting lots about going back to training and working on yourself as a wrestler. What was it that led you to go back to training, and how have you found going back to training, both mentally and physically, like the physical challenges of it and the mental challenges of being involved in the business for so long, and then going back as a trainee, training with people who have, maybe a year or 6 months worth of training under their belt, and how have you found that whole process?
I think the process would have been harder if I had trained anywhere else apart from the Hughes Academy. I think because I think in Auckland, if you want, it's going to be, I think I may not have gone overseas much, but I believe what I know I teach really well, like really well. And then the character side of it, I think I'm one of the best characters in the country, and I don't care what anyone thinks about that. I think everybody knows that. No matter where I go, the crowd is going to react, no matter what country, no matter what town, no matter if they don't react to anyone else, they're going to react to me. So I just believe that's the edge I hold over people, as character-wise, but I wasn't so, even, it's, it may be hard to admit, but I wasn't profound in the technical side of wrestling, and Graham at the Hughes Academy was and is, and I wanted to upskill for the betterment of my company and my trainees and myself, and then my goal is to be the best trainer in the country, and I can't say that unless I know everything, pretty much, as well as because I've got, I want to be a coach elsewhere as well, elsewhere in the world. If that it's depending on my health, though, that is. I don't know if I want to stay here, and if I do, I want to be the best trainer in the country, and I believe that I can't do that all on my own, and I don't believe that that's a bad thing to admit, and I actually believe that it's actually really quite a brave thing to go somewhere else where, where that trainer hasn't even been in the business as long as you have, in the business, though. That, I think if it was a male, here I am drawing on things I've heard, that, it could hurt their ego a little bit. I don't give a fuck about ego. I just care about my talent. Like, they they just mean the world to me. They're not only my talent, they're my friends, and they're guys and girls that have goals of going overseas, and if I can't give them what they want, then they need to go elsewhere, so I'm making sure I can give them everything that they want. That's why I would bring in, Marcus Cool from SPW, who had a WWE tryout, meaning he would have picked up tips from there. It's why I've had Aaron Henry in, it's why I've had Tux Foley in, it's why I've even had James Shaw in, because they all bring a different element, and I learn different styles and techniques from them, and that just makes me, as a coach, even better. So it wasn't just to have better matches, which I have had because I've started training, but it was also for my talent who, train and pay money each week and deserve the best. So, yeah, pretty much. Physically, my weight this, last year has just gone up and down. That physically, it's been, it's been a challenge, I think. Mentally, it's only a little bit of a challenge because there are newer people in there, and I still have a little bit of the mindset that I did in Australia, where if I fail, I know they're not judging me, but I'm judging me. I feel, useless or whatever if it doesn't happen on the first go, even if I am quick to pick up things and I pick it up on the second go. It's just, I don't like to fail, and that's probably been the biggest hurdle to get over. But because it is done at the Hughes Academy with people that I like and admire, and who know that I'd punch them in the face if they laughed at me, who probably are a bit scared of me, apart from Crystal K, that it was just, it's okay, it's alright, it's fun.
So you've obviously been around the wrestling business for a long time. Do you have a favourite match of your career?
Favourite match? I actually quite liked my first, it was the first women's main event in the whole country, ever in New Zealand, and that was versus Nurse Payne at the Mania gym. And one of the, a couple of the reasons I like that is Nurse Payne hadn't been training very long, even though she had the cup, and we didn't have very much time to prepare or practice, and I just thought she did a really good job and I did a really good job, and it was the first women's main event in the whole country. We weren't very prepared. It was the first sign that, or one of the first main signs where I was like, whoa, I don't have to have a fully, this is, because that was when I first started Maniacs, was one of the, the first match where I didn't go, oh, I don't have to fully plan and script everything. I can actually do some things on the fly with the talent only turning up an hour before. I was very proud of it. It was the first women's one-on-one title shot in the country ever. That was actually probably one of my favourites. Since then, I think the one where I won the KPW title, or New Zealand Women's Championship, against Scarlett in a no DQ match. See, that was my favourite because I won it, which seems pretty dumb because titles are just nothing, no jokes. It was because it was the culmination of a lot of my hard work. Physically, I was in really bad shape, so it's not my altogether favourite. It's my favourite because of the title and because I stuck kebab sticks in someone's brain because they let me, which I appreciate. She let me, just do a lot of crazy things, and that part was good. That's probably about it. I mean, no, that's not it. I've had some intergender matches that I've really liked. Dan Stryker, his debut match, I thought was one of the, it was a 20-minute match, basically, with a guy that hadn't been, a year, 9 months to a year or something. He was like 16 years old. It was the first intergender main event in the country, and I just reckon that kid did so well. I think it was one of the best New Zealand debuts that I'd ever seen in 5 years, I'd say. Other people may not rate it, but the kid was 16 years old. It was an intergender match. The psychology was good. It was 20 minutes long, basically, and it was against, one of my first male trainees, I think, pretty much. So I was pretty proud of that one.
And what about favourite opponents? So is there anybody that that you feel really privileged and honoured to have wrestled against, and maybe even the matches weren't that great, but sort of whether it's somebody you're really friendly with or somebody that has a big name value, like you mentioned, tagging with Madison Eagles in Australia and those kind of things. Is there anybody that you really just love wrestling that you could wrestle kind of every day for the rest of your career and kind of be happy with?
The first name that springs to mind would be Frankie Quinn. I guess because she trained with me early on. We were pretty good friends. We're at the stage where we just go out and just wrestle, and I don't think I've ever had a bad match against her. And every match seems to be different. It doesn't, or it feels different, or it feels good. No match seems boring to me. Oh God, I've got to do this again. And who else? So what favourite opponent?
Yeah.
Maybe Miss Ava, who is going to repackage and be someone that was who I fought in 2016, who's going to be repackaged into someone else in 2017, and that is because I was her very first match, and I know she's going to end up in the WWE. And I'm gonna always hold that over her head. I was your trainer, I was your first match, and get me tickets to WrestleMania, or I'll give you a 1-2. But yeah, I think, and maybe tagging. See, we didn't have a match together with the Bugain, but he was, just being able to tag with him, knowing that, I don't know, I just see great things in those two. And, yeah, maybe those three.
You mentioned obviously lots of things that you're not quite proud of in your wrestling career. What are the biggest regrets that really stand out from your time in the business?
See, I want to say that my biggest regret was going to Australia in the first place. But if I hadn't have gone, I wouldn't be who I was today at all. I wouldn't have learnt all those lessons. I would never have grown as a person. Maniacs United would never have existed, and I may still have got fired anyway down the line because I'm not very likable. I regret the stupid incident with Rick Morgan. I regret sometimes retaliating to the online bullying, but in some ways I don't, because I just can't stand. I just won't let people walk all over me. I don't care who you are. I'm just going to be me. What else? I may have a few regrets of, debuting some talent too early, just because I wanted to carry on doing shows. I've kind of learnt that lesson now. I'm not afraid to just not run shows if my talent aren't ready. If that's the way it's got to be, then that's the way it's got to be, or I'll use outside talent. Definitely the Australia trip, but not... The way I behaved on the Australia trip will probably be the biggest regret of my life, or my wrestling career, or my wrestling life, because it just closed the doors to so many opportunities that I reckon I was good enough to have. I hope one day, I don't see it happening. I did try and get PWA's address so that I could write them an apology note. I never got that address, so I never sent the note. I regret not pushing to get the address, or just going and finding it myself and sending that apology letter no matter what, because it just would have been the right thing to do. I regret some of the things I've written on social media sometimes. But again, none of this, I don't know, none of this stuff, if I hadn't have done, I wouldn't be able to teach my trainees not to do it. I wouldn't have learnt so much, and Maniacs may not be around, and I may not be wrestling right now. So maybe no regrets, but Australia.
What about your trainees who are destined for great things in 2017 and beyond? Who are the Maniacs United trainees that everybody should keep an eye out for?
They should keep an eye out on Delilah, who will make her official professional wrestling debut in February. Number 1, should be number 1. I say keep an eye on Jason Brody. If he learns to adapt to everyone's style and not just want to wrestle his own style, then I think that he is going to be a guy that's going to go far. I think little Chris, we call him, who has, like me, this is why, you know, I think I get on with him so well, has struggled with confidence in himself and in, you know, a few other issues, that he's left a couple of times and he's just been in contact to tell me that he'll come back. And he had one match, you know, he had his debut and then he stopped, and his debut match already had a buzz around New Zealand wrestling with guys just wanting to wrestle him and sharing his photo and saying you need to, you know, watch out for this guy, and I believe that he's really going to go far. Yeah, I think they're the 3 main ones to watch at the moment. I've got Big Dan coming in, 6 foot, 6'6" or something, 6'7", and also the Bugain, who is overseas though, so he's not my trainee anymore, but I'll always want those WrestleMania tickets if they make it.
And finally, is there anything that you want to plug? So is there social media things that people can follow you on? See the Maniacs United website, all those kind of things. Any upcoming shows that you want to direct people to? Where can they find information about you and Maniacs United?
Right. Well, every social media outlet that you can imagine I've got, and then I've got multiple ones. So, you know, maniacsunited.com is the website, facebook.com/maniacsunited is the fan page. See, my fan page URL I made up so long ago and it's so complicated. But you can find me online, you know, on Facebook under Just Plain Evil, Instagram 1 Just Plain Evil 1, Twitter 1 JPE 1, Google Plus. I think I've even got a Tumblr somewhere. Just everywhere, basically everywhere. Just Google me, and finally, after how many years, you Google Just Plain Evil, and the first thing that does come up is something to do with me. It's not actually some other random thing, it's actually me. You can find me there.
Well, thank you very much, Stacey, or Just Plain Evil, for being part of our Behind the Wrestler series and the very first interview that we put up. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks. Don't judge me.